Gardenia. Welcome to Adam versus the Man. We have two in-studio co-hosts today, Joey and Mercedes, and they are getting plugged in on comments, so your comments will be blaring across the bottom of the screen nonstop for 2 hours. We've got a great guest, Magnus Panvidya of the Boogaloo Boys, joins us in very interesting role he has in sort of the open source movement. What does it mean to be a leader in the Boogaloo Boys these days? That and more with Magnus on the top of the hour. But for now, executive producer Jim Freedom, what you got for us this morning?
What's going on? Good morning to you, Adam. How's life treating you up there in Gardenia?
It's beautiful. High of 79 today.
Oh, nice.
Nice
That's
morning.
a good one.
Yeah. It's good. It's like it's summer. Feels like summer.
Well, you're not there yet, but we'll see. So you can join us at our public Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the Man. That's on the Telegram Messenger app, where you can get links to everything we cover on the show, and even the ones we don't end up with time to cover. You can see the links there and check it out for yourself. If you want to join the private Telegram group, you can do that through the website, adamversustheman.com. There's a Patreon link there, so you can support the show with varying different levels, $1, $5, $10, or even $50 a month. $10 a month is a sweet spot that'll get you access to the private producers club. Once you're a member of the private producers club as a better patron, you can shop at the shop at adamversustheman.com, and you can get 15% off and free shipping on everything there at the store. New items being added all the time with the Adam vs. Man show logo or the Freedom logo. So order your merch and be sure to be a private producers club member so that you can get your 15% off and free shipping. After that, visit the Cigar Federation. Awesome website with a huge selection of cigars to choose from, including a CBD infused one called the JSK Nug. And you can use promo code ADAM10 to get 10% off of your entire order at thecigarfederation.com. So definitely check them out. Let's take a venture onto Instagram and search at the Garden of Freedom to see if Adam has uploaded anything new. Not yet, not today, but he's going to soon. Check out at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram to keep up with all the pictures and videos of everything going up there in the beautiful Gardenia as the weather gets more beautiful. There's gonna be more and more pictures posted shortly, so definitely check that out. Next, visit thecrypto6.com. Those guys still, and I repeat, still, I should say guys and girls, because I'm not even sure if it was only men that were caught with this. I don't want to speak ignorantly there. Anyways, visit the Crypto6 and find out for yourself, and donate your cryptos as much as you can to help these guys through these QR codes that are on your screen. And lastly, after that, our last affiliate program is GoGreenEnergyOnline.com. Great website that you can use to learn all the different things about solar power, micro wind power, and zero energy homes. It's a real good, excellent resource for do-it-yourselfers that are trying to get themselves off-grid no matter where they live. You can literally be off-grid in a city if you're that good. So use GoGreenEnergyOnline.com to educate yourself on off-grid living, self-sustaining living.
All right. Thank you, Jim. So our co-hosts in studio today, Joey and Mercedes, scrambling with laptops still, but we can hear you. What's the comment contest for the day?
Ooh, that's a very good question. The most times you've had to change the same account's password in one day.
We're just gonna put up random numbers.
Oh yeah, you're right. I tried.
Trying to connect the comment contest to current events. No will attempt.
You know.
Let's see. It's my birthday, and here I am. Thank you, Zacchaeus and Brannigan Deeds, for joining us. Appreciate that.
I'm so uninspired this morning.
So the reason we have Joey and Mercedes joining us in studio is that later on in the show, we are getting to four, but two really important conversation articles for them to weigh in on with related experience. First one Arkansas mother of 5 says she was fired for refusing to get COVID-19 vaccine. Here's the kicker. Where did she used to work? Harvest Cannabis Dispensary in Conway, Arkansas. And finally, from KHOU, that's K Houston-ish 11, advocates want to raise the minimum age for strippers in Texas from 18 to 21. A group for human trafficking survivors says strip clubs are no place for teenagers. Right now, a person can be a stripper at 18 because, they're a person. So with that, we're going to be coming back to those. Does that inspire any comment contests for you ladies this morning? 2 pretty heavy topics that you both have related experience with.
Craziest strip club.
No. Favorite stripper name?
Ooh.
I like that.
Best stripper name.
And Mercedes is off limits.
Best stripper.
Mercedes isn't even like top 10.
I met a stripper named Mercedes, and she made me show her my ID because she didn't believe my name was actually Mercedes.
Because hers was fake.
Because hers was fake.
Stage name. Yeah.
Her name was like Laura or something.
Well, we're looking for best stage name, I assume here. Are you guys able to see the comments backstage now?
Almost. Almost. Everything just.
Because they're exploding right now with comments about strippers.
I'm working on it, and I won't be able to see any backlog comments until I get in.
YSSSZ, best stripper name? YSSSZ is the best stripper name?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you pronounce that?
Yes.
I think that was just an over emphatic yes. Like, yes, best stripper name. Yes. He typed it so fast it came out as yes.
Like, it's not my fault.
Maybe. Definitely better than the other ideas so far. All right, so to our headlines, while they figure this out backstage, they will get access to the comments. They will be able to go back and see your comments.
Watch on YouTube.
They'll be watching on YouTube for comments at least.
Until we get in.
And Jim can help you get
comments
get backstage and get comments up to get comments on screen.
Oh,
like
I know how we're gonna do this.
Do when you're a co-host.
No. We'll talk about this part after the show, but I know a way around to not being backstage, but to get the comments we want up on screen. I know what we're gonna do.
All right. Well, here we go. First headline. Biden expected to ban menthol cigarettes from CBS News. Yeah. The Biden administration is expected to announce this week its intention to ban menthol cigarettes to people familiar with the plan, told CBS. The proposed ban on the mint-flavored cigarettes is likely to be announced on Thursday, according to an administration official, which is the day the FDA was ordered by a court to respond to a 2013 citizen petition advocating the ban. This is your government in action, responding to citizen needs. Just a mere 8 years ago, the citizens petitioned for this ban, and finally they're responding. Now, they shouldn't be responding. They should say, this isn't our business to ban something that people want to consume. Public health organizations like the AMA, American Medical Association, favor the move to ban menthols because of data showing these cigarettes disproportionately impact the health of racial minorities and young people. You go, wait a second. What like what is it? It's black people, right? Black people smoke menthols. I mean, it's a cliche, it's a stereotype, but it's kind of true. And it's not one that's derogatory. It's just a flavor. It's a taste, cultural association, whatever it is. It's not derogatory, but it's like, yeah, black Americans like menthol cigarettes. That's not racist. Sales numbers. Yeah, there's stats to back this up. And so this is why they say they disproportionately impact the health of racial minorities and young people. Now, I don't know about menthol, particularly for young people. I suppose there are similar statistics. Funny, my first cigarette was a menthol, and it was gross. It was one that my younger brother stole for me. So young people, yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, menthols are okay, but unflavored cigarettes, just straight tobacco, that for the younger palate, not as appealing. I don't know. But it's sort of like, okay, let's apply this to food for a second. Can we, without being racist, can we say that black people like fried chicken and watermelon? That's like similarly.
I think
is that I mean, that's a little more. That's used as a derogatory stereotype.
But it's cultural.
But it's also Is
It's
there
used-
do we have statistics to back that up so it's not
All
just
my,
like,
okay,
oh, I
okay,
think
wait,
I
wait,
observed
no,
this.
How about this?
It's not racist.
Carlos Garcia, Fluffy. No,
Yeah.
no, Fluffy. Yeah, Fluffy.
Yeah, the racist gift basket bit.
The racist
yeah.
gift basket.
I know that one.
That's what
Yeah, I know that
is,
story.
Like,
So it's like everybody likes those things. But let's say it were true. Let's say it were similarly true. I don't know that it is. I don't know that it's more than a stereotype,
Look, have you
but
ever
a cultural
had?
trend. Fried chicken and watermelon. What if Biden said, you know what?
it's gonna be.
We're gonna have to ban fried chicken and watermelon because they disproportionately affect the obesity problem among minorities. You'd be like, oh, really? Really? No, you know, we're gonna have to ban burritos because Hispanic obesity is up.
Yeah.
Really? Fuck you. And you know, oh, you're concerned about you're concerned about the health of minorities, you're concerned about the health of young people. You go, oh, that's why we have Pepsi and Coca-Cola sponsoring billboards and vending machines in government-run schools for your kids' health. Yeah, no. And the funny thing is, this is like, I think back to Biden during the campaign going, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Or did you say not Democrat? If you don't vote Democrat, you're not black. If you don't vote Democrat, you're not black. It's like, well, now you're not allowed to be black. And the hypocrisy of this is like, I mean, do you want to just rail about hypocrisy over and over again? At some point, it gets
Business as usual.
it gets.
Government.
But this is where, like, as a libertarian, I'm kind of hopeful. Like, will this wake up Black America to the reality of the relationship that they have had with government? They are not a protected class; they are a victim class. You know, like that's the meth minx. There's a stripper
The
name,
meth
the
minx?
meth minx,
The meth minx.
for a really skinny chick,
Wow.
right? For a meth skinny woman.
Oh, I have.
Kevin Jules, Josie Biden.
Josie Biden, yes.
Joey Biden. But yeah, Joseph Biden, Josie Biden for a stripper name. Yeah, not related, of course. But no, like it's really sick. But the libertarian in me is hopeful that this raises a certain level of awareness to the libertarian point of, wait, you're banning it for my own good, but it's my choice. I enjoy it. Fuck you. You know? No. And then you go, well, and I say this as a health advocate who's like, you know, if you're going to smoke, try to smoke minimally clean, you know, tobacco, however it is. But it's your decision to balance that risk with the enjoyment for yourself, you know? YOLO and all that. Okay, boomer. You know, YOLO and all that. We should. That's the next T-shirt. YOLO and all that. 10 we've got to keep those potential voters healthy enough to get to the outhouse. I mean, voting. Yeah.
Didn't kill us.
Yeah. All right. So after that sort of lead story, we have two uncontained COVID headlines that couldn't wait until Monday for our next big COVID block. So France24.com. Brazil says Russian COVID vaccine carried live cold virus. And again, not fear mongering, but like this is not some freaky thing. This is common cold causing virus. But again, one more reason to wait. Don't take medicine that's rushed to market. Don't take medicine that's not absolutely necessary. You know, don't like, this is just general concept about we live in a world of pharmaceuticals. Should you be rushing to put pharmaceuticals in your body? No, probably not. And here's one more hazard, and this is a serious, immediate one that doesn't make the point never get any COVID vaccine, but it does very much bolster my point to say, hey, there are potential hazards here. Better to wait and be safe. And it's funny to hear people say like, oh, well, the vaccine only does this. It only got, the vaccine advocates out there now saying, oh, it's relatively safe. And you go, oh, so you mean like the virus. One more COVID headline here, and this is from Business Insider at yahoo.com. Governor Andrew Cuomo's office hid New York's COVID-19 nursing home death toll for at least 5 months, report says. Yeah, and this is
Wait, he hid it?
hid it. Yeah, I mean,
Or just didn't
I
announce it?
yeah, well, like
Not
I
accurate
never,
reporting.
I didn't get into this story as it was unfolding, and because I saw this wrapped up in all the other Cuomo drama, but this is actually kind of a unique one, and this is not. Remember, we have, Newsom and Cuomo right now as two Democrat governors of two of the biggest states in America, both potentially going down largely over how they handle things around the pandemic. And for Cuomo, it's this and the sexual, assault scandals and, general handling of the pandemic, even though his sort of daily fireside chat type, it was a daily weekday address that he was doing for a long time during the pandemic, was like really hailed as setting him up to run for president. And that's what who doesn't get into politics if they don't want to be president? It's just, like if you don't, these are men of a certain power ambition. I think I can say men because it's mostly men. And this is where I say, like, oh, there hasn't been a woman president yet? Yeah, good for you. Good for women.
Doing great.
How about this?
No woman has successfully stooped so low as to be president of the United States.
We've only been able to have bank accounts for 50 years.
There's that too. I know there is. I don't want to say that women are immune to the lust for power, but y'all haven't been as good at it. Y'all in this particular dynamic haven't been as good at being bad. But in the case of Cuomo, those are the things that he's dealing with. In the case of Governor Newsom in California, it's the overall economic handling and the hypocrisy. The French Laundry incident is still raw for many Californians who saw the French Laundry incident. No, it's the name of a restaurant, a very high class restaurant where he went with a group of people when the rest of the state was in serious lockdown. Stripper name, what was that? Rona. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Rona. Yeah, you can hear it, right? Okay, so back to Andrew Cuomo. What is this like hid? I mean, was it his like job to report them, but it was sort of sweeping under the rug? Like how aggressive was it? Cuomo's senior aides prevented state health officials from releasing the actual numbers. That's the how. Cuomo's been embroiled in a series of scandals related to his handling of the pandemic. So, Cuomo's senior advisors repeatedly prevented state health officials from releasing the actual death toll to the public. According to interviews and new documents reviewed by the New York Times, documents that included the data didn't go public until months later. Wednesday's new details come as Cuomo faces an investigation into whether his administration gave false data on nursing home deaths last spring as COVID-19 raged across New York. The probe relates to a March 25 executive order, which the Cuomo administration has long insisted was simply the result of them following guidance that mandated nursing home patients who were hospitalized with the coronavirus be discharged back to nursing homes as long as the providers could take adequate care of them. So, what are the actual numbers here? I want to know, like, if we're going to say, that Cuomo's mishandling was downplaying it while generally overplaying it, it can't be that simple, because what happened was that hospital capacity was the concern. This was back in the, we still need to flatten the. We don't even care about that. Do we hear about that anymore? Does anybody say we have to flatten the curve?
It's slow the spread.
Slow the spread.
That's Nebraska's slogan. Isn't flatten the curve. It's slow the spread, because everybody.
So it's not stop the spread. It's like, well, it's going to get out there.
Well,
it's
slow
like
the spread so that we can stop the spread. It's about flattening the curve so that the infrastructure didn't collapse.
Overwhelm, right?
And slowing the spread because everybody's going to fucking get it because it's uncontained, and then stopping the spread once the spread's. It's like slowly closing a valve.
Right. So what? Right.
That's how he's been describing it the
That's
whole
the
time.
pitch. Yeah.
It's
so
slowly closing the valve.
well, right now it's that Cuomo sent sick patients with COVID back into nursing home centers after being asymptomatic, and now the numbers here, they're saying by late January, New York Attorney General Tish James accused the Cuomo administration of undercounting nursing home deaths by omitting those who died in a hospital, resulting in nursing home related fatalities being undercounted by the thousands. Then came leaked comments from Cuomo's top aide, Melissa DeRosa, who told lawmakers that the administration was sitting on the more accurate tally to avoid political issues with then President Donald Trump's administration. So the thing is, they could have just, it's just government being government. There's nothing like special to this story, because they would have rather generally played this up. Like, it would have been better. And this is where, like, radical transparency, radical honesty is something that we should be pursuing as a society. Just openness, whether it's in government, if we still have government in an enlightened society at all, or if it's corporate transparency or community or organizational transparency. But the embarrassment, it's like the cover up is worse than the crime in this case. It's not like, hey, we made a mistake because we thought we were doing the right thing.
No,
and people die. Like, if they had come out and said that,
he did though. Like, at the beginning, because so I hyper focused on.
No, but at the same time,
yeah,
government's just then going and being government going, oh wait, we might be responsible for this bad thing. Cover it up. Whereas they could have what they should have done. I mean, what Cuomo and his team should have done was shoehorn their mistake into the bigger narrative about COVID, and it would have been much easier to just say, hey, you know what, this thing is so deadly and so crazy, even we can't handle it. Even we are going to make mistakes. We need more help. We need more power, and we're really sorry. But then they covered it up. But they they could have stuck to that, and doing that with doing that one thing, even with taking that one play completely, would have been not hiding the numbers.
Is what happened.
So yeah, really,
he started out good, and then it crashed.
Someone's gonna write a book someday about, like, the COVID story of Newsom and the COVID story of Cuomo in contrast. It's gonna be really interesting.
We'll find out someday.
All right, so now we go to our favorite spray tan zombie freak, Rudy Giuliani. I don't know, what do you call it? Remember when he had the, like, streak? I don't want to make fun of someone for, like, I don't know, a hygiene failure, like, but it's not a wardrobe malfunction when your, like, hair dye starts leaking down your skin, right? And so now every time I see his face, like, that's what I picture. It's kind of like, sorry, that was real.
I think it's a boring movie that he got caught in undercover.
Yeah. Anyway, so what's up with Giuliani not looking good? Feds, now I feel sympathetic for him, right? Feds raid Giuliani. No, I don't. No. Giuliani represents one of the worst power-hungry assholes who actually, like, after having, remember, he debated with Ron Paul on stage in, was it 2008 or 2012? 9/11, remember the montages of him on stage? And it was when Ron Paul was running for president. I think it was 2008. 9/11. He was mayor of New York for 9/11, right? He was America's mayor. And it was like, you can leverage that into the presidency, and it's like, no, you can't. And he's not. He's not a dumb guy. Like, I don't want to say, oh, look at him, he's dumb. Like, there are certain things that I can say that about Trump. Like, Trump is like, or he's a super genius who, like, deliberately dumbs down his speech patterns in certain ways. But I think Trump is genuinely, like, rhetorically dumb. Like, there's some, like, that he, but overall, Trump's really fucking smart. Like, I'm not going to pretend that he's an idiot, and it's sort of like the same thing with Giuliani. And it's interesting to watch these men who have certain qualities, and intelligence, baseline intelligence is one of them. These are smart dudes. But then when you see their sort of intellectual weaknesses exposed, like with Trump, it's a sort of, the way that he forms complex thoughts and sentences is missing a couple screws.
Awkward.
there's a
It's-
certain
it's
social
exactly.
awkwardness, but the verbal text, there's certain things that you go, I'm pretty sure this isn't super genius stuff. I'm pretty sure this is not like very stable. And he says it's funny, very stable. He is, but like relatively speaking, he's stable and he's pretty fucking smart. Like, is he a genius?
Geniuses are insane.
I don't know, but he has, if you want to say like a genius of self-promotion, a genius of
He's
sensationalism,
always on
a
the
genius of
stage.
getting
He's
attention,
very aware
like
of his
right.
product,
So like
his brand.
there's a
Honest
whatever
brand.
he's accomplished with that has to be a product of genius. And then similarly with Giuliani, when we heard him speak, in the debate stage, he didn't have, like, there was one night, and they did a montage of this where he said 9/11 some 20 something times. It was like every response he said in the debate was, I'm going to be the 9/11 candidate. I'm going to be America's mayor, and that's why I'm going to be the Republican nominee, and I'm going to be president. And then he has this weird, like, hygiene wardrobe malfunction too, where he's like, I mean, he's mostly bald. If I'm this bald, by the way, guys, like really, if I'm ever as bald as Rudy Giuliani, don't ever let me pretend that putting dye in my hair is going to make things better. Okay, like don't ever let me do it in a rush as I'm about to go out into a press conference under hot lights. I mean, there's so many chain events. Like did he go to a stylist who did he have a new stylist that day? And he was like, they rushed it. And it was during COVID. He must have done it at home. He had someone else doing his hair because he's rich, right? He had someone else coming in doing his hair and makeup and
they made colored dye hairspray to fill
sure, right? But then and no, it wasn't that. It was dye that was dripping down. It wasn't because it wasn't up from his bald spot. It was from and he's way too bald. Look at the picture of him. He's really bald. Like it's like ring around, like full bald ear. If I remember that, Jim's got that great. Oh my God, I'm bald. So, yeah, with the hair dye running down the side. Wait, that's not the hair dye picture. Now we got to find the hair dye picture. Jim, find the picture with the hair dye. We're gonna talk about Rudy Giuliani and his hair this much. But no, just fucking shave the sides. I mean, it's got it slick down.
That's the cool old man bald. It's okay. You can embrace that.
Yeah, well, when you dye it to the point that it's running down your cheeks at a press conference.
It was a bad hair day.
That's. But that you don't even notice it, and you still go on. You don't go like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna look fucking freaky so bad that people are gonna make fun of me for years. We're going to delay this press conference 10 minutes. I'm going to be a little gray. It's be a little awkward, but it's a lot better than this. I'm going to the bathroom. Give me some wet paper towels. You know, like, right? You see what I mean? Like, and this says something. I know this is like, it doesn't say that much about, there it is. There's the hair dye streak down the cheek. The hair dye sideburn. And it's like, even there, like, you've got it starts running, you get a tissue, you wipe it right there. Like I've had a zit that got a scab and cracked and like, oh shit, I got blood, I gotta hold before I go on camera, let me like hold a tissue to my face, or before I go on stage, stall for me. This would be weird if it starts or if I had a scrape from homesteading and I had like right now, I have a cut on my eyebrow. Yesterday if it happened right before the show, I'd be like, hey, okay, let me just stop the bleeding here. I haven't had anything like hair dye running down my cheek.
I wonder if it was backstage.
There's a story about Giuliani. I just want to talk about hair, okay?
I think
there's a man who's more bald than me and more embarrassing.
Anyway,
Joey was saying something intelligent.
We safely assume that he's got a makeup guy before he goes on camera. Like, I don't feel like this is his fault. I feel like somebody really dropped the ball before he walked in front of that podium.
The paparazzi.
Sure, but even that is like multiple layers of stupid and like
really
not like. But even then, it starts. Hey man, you've got this thing on your face.
Hey, how about this? That circle of people don't do that because they like laughing at each other.
Well, no, maybe someone set him up, and that's different. Like he got glitter bombed. He got, he got like his hair guy was like, oh.
Well, I
But
mean,
even then, no, it's really dumb because it's like a slow drip of a dark liquid down his cheek. How do you not? You're talking about this. I'm trying to move on. Okay, so federal agents raided Rudy Giuliani's Manhattan home and office Wednesday, seizing computers and cell phones in a major escalation of the Justice Department's investigation into the business dealings of former President Donald Trump's personal lawyer. Excuse me, Giuliani, the 76-year-old former New York City mayor, once celebrated for his leadership after 9/11, has been under federal scrutiny for several years over his ties to Ukraine. The dual searches sent the strongest signal yet that he could eventually face federal charges. Agents searched Giuliani's Madison Avenue apartment and Park Avenue office. People familiar with the investigation told the AP. The warrants, which required approval from the top levels of the Justice Department, signify that prosecutors believe they have probable cause that Giuliani committed a federal crime, though they do not guarantee that charges will materialize. So this is pretty. I mean, he's 76. Like,
what are you gonna put him in jail for the last 5 years of his life?
yeah, right. Yeah, well, he's in decent health. He's been taking his adrenochrome and his stem cells. You know, he's been eating enough gold-plated babies. He's gonna live to be 100. Okay. But 76, yeah, like you're gonna put him in jail. And whatever this is, like blue-collar crime, suspended sentence. Jail,
he's gonna get suicided.
Oh well, but the Giuliani doesn't.
They don't need to,
because they're gonna find kitty porn on his shit.
Giuliani probably knows some shit. All right, according to interviews, and Rudy Giuliani dyed his hair with the blood of the innocent.
And there's a lot in the comments going on about Giuliani computers in relation to Hunter Biden
and Ukraine and what's going on in Russia and how Trump and all of that with this. Now, so fuck his hair.
Now, if I was Biden and Giuliani was a thorn in my side,
he's the perfect scapegoat.
You could make it look like he created the laptop and deep-faked and fabricated the whole thing. Like, you came after, you came after the prince.
You came after
He wasn't the prince, but he's the prince now.
And you had help from Russia. Guess what? Now we're going to go in, and because Russia's been trying to take over Ukraine anyway. So this is a perfect excuse because Russia's trying to get into Ukraine again right now. And so if we're investigating Trump because he's been working with Russia, we know he has been. Our relations with Russia were great while he was president. There was no threat for Russia on a war level while he was president because he was investigating Biden's son in Ukraine for Russia. So now you have Biden going into Giuliani because Giuliani has all the evidence on Trump and into Ukraine. So now you got that political aspect of global war. Because Russia wants Ukraine, they're already there. We're already firing shots at Iran. Like there's an escalation going on with intelligence, and I need to smoke more weed.
Yeah, no, Joey just weighed in. Certified pole technician is your name for classification for strippers.
Yes, it is 2021, and strippers just so archaic.
I like freelancing sexual entrepreneur as the umbrella term, and then technical pole technician.
I don't know. I don't feel like
because I'm an entrepreneur.
Stripping is sexualized, but
all right. So back to Giuliani. Yeah. So Giuliani's son weighed in here, and it's starting to sound like a Game of Thrones plot line of.
It's a political game. They're bored. Yeah. They were all grounded from COVID. They got fucking bored, and now we're doing stupid, delicate political de-escalation games so that we don't blow shit up.
Well, Giuliani's son, Andrew Giuliani, weighed in, said the raids were disgusting and absolutely absurd. And it's like, do you know what the victims of your types of people have experienced over the years? Probably not. But this evolving into a Game of Thrones kind of plot line makes me think that, like, who's Giuliani's character in all this? He's the annoying kid that nobody really likes. And they're like, you know what? You say he's the perfect scapegoat? No, he's the one that they just don't like. They don't care about. They don't mind killing without remorse. I mean, similar to Epstein, right? Who was Epstein? He was a sleazy one that there was like a threat and a liability to everybody. And they're like, well, you know what? Epstein's got to go. All right. Now I think it's kind of the same thing with Giuliani. Like, oh, but it's worse. It's more like, oh, you crossed the king's son. You're gonna die in jail. All right. Rudy is a reptilian. Phoenix says, oh, you think he's one of the super class of lizard people? I don't know. Maybe
they're taking him out of the public eye so they can put him in the special reptilian base underground where they live to be 1,000 or whatever. That's what's happening. It's just a transition.
Okay, so France24.com, Navalny network disbands as Gaunt Kremlin critic appears in court. And it's an interesting picture here. I don't know if this has any more of a caption to it because it doesn't say what's actually going on in the picture. But you have these painters with rollers painting over a really beautiful mural portrait of Alexei Navalny, and they're covering up the fact that you can see if you look close, but it's like seems like it's funny how the paint is covering his face, and this guy's body is covering the fact that he's making a heart with his hand. You can see the way his fingers are poised, and you go, oh yeah. But if you don't look if you just glance at it and you go, oh, they're painting over his face, he's doing something with his hands. You look for just another second, you go, oh, he's making the heart symbol. Okay. And they're covering up both of that. And this is a really unfortunate point for the resistance in Russia. Alexei Navalny's political network said Thursday it is disbanding as the jailed Kremlin critic appeared in court gaunt and shaven-headed for the first time since ending his hunger strike. During the hearing, which is part of an appeal by Navalny against the defamation sentence imposed in February for insulting a World War II veteran, the opposition figure said he lost more weight but had started eating again. Quote, I was taken to a bathhouse yesterday. There was a mirror there. I looked at myself. I am just a horrible skeleton, he told the court, according to an audio recording released by the independent Dozed television channel. I haven't weighed this much since 7th grade, he added, telling his wife, Yulia, who was in court, that he is now allowed a couple spoonfuls of porridge a day. Oh. Another court held a hearing Thursday into a request from prosecutors that Navalny's regional network and his anti-corruption foundation, heaven forbid you be anti-corruption in Russia, both be recognized as extremists, equating the organization with the Islamic State group and Al-Qaeda. Yeah, if the request is met, their activities would be banned, putting members and supporters at risk of lengthy jail time. The hearings are set to resume on May 17. So the head of the regional network, however, said Thursday it had already been decided to shutter it. We are officially disbanding Navalny's network, Leon Volkov said in a video posted on social media. They're like, well, if they ban it, you just change the fucking name and bring it back. Like, what? How do you do that? It like, I get it in prior ages, like
burn the book and you can never write it again.
Yeah. Well, that's the deeper idea. Burn the book. You can get rid of even if you degrade the structure. Well, no, don't take us down that rabbit hole.
That's what I mean.
If like, I think back to like even World War II. Like, you're the resistance. Are you doing this? Right? Like, do you have arms? And the Nazis were indiscriminately enforcing their expansionism, and it really didn't matter what you called yourself if you looked like this should shoot you, right? Like, that's part of the brutality of the time. But now it's like speech that meets this criteria, because it does this. Well, okay, no, or because you had an organization named this associated with this specific person, okay?
We're breathing in an unwilling dystopia.
But the people are winning because these kinds of, we're going to shut down your activist network. Really, the Russian government should be more like the American government and use COINTELPRO tactics. This kind of like this, what I know they are also, but this kind of like, but they're all this kind of brute force suppression of activism. Of directly at and it's because Russia has a more totalitarian culture and expectation that their government is going to be more heavy-handed going against activists to begin with. So it's not like this is out of character for them or beyond what they can get away with, given what their people will put up with and how strong Putin's grip on power is there. But it would be more effective for them if they could be a little more subtle about it. Like, like the American government. They should learn from the FBI.
When vodka is involved, there is no vodka. There's no subtle when there's vodka.
Oh, right. That's it. It's just the vodka culture. We're like playing on all the stereotypes today.
If we're going to go there, we're going to go there.
Rollcall.com. Social media algorithms threaten democracy. Experts tell senators. Facebook, Google, Twitter go up against researchers who say algorithms pose existential threats to individual rights. Yeah. So this is actually like something that I sort of like we've known about libertarians as victims of this. You know, and again here, democracy is the good kind of democracy, the flowery abstract rule by the people, not the reality of democracy of, you know, majority forcing will and minority controlled by super minority. But to the point here, there's an awareness growing about social media censorship, which we haven't heard that much of lately, but it's getting to the Senate level. And I think about like experts telling senators, okay, boomer, here's how Facebook works. Here's what the Facebook feed is. It's like, okay.
They have social media.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So this stuff has to be explained to them in order to understand it and then misregulate it. It's like, remember Senator Ted Stevens? The internet. It's not just a series of tubes. It's not just it's not just a big truck that you can dump stuff on. It's a series of tubes.
Trying to regulate.
This was like my favorite remix of the internet, and it never like I thought this was gonna be like a big thing to reference, and then Senator Stevens died, but there is a Wikipedia page for a series of tubes explaining the name, and then there is the YouTube video. We'll see if we can pull this up. But to the story, the Senate hearing on Tuesday pitted three powerful social media companies against researchers who testified that the algorithms used by the platforms to generate revenue by keeping users engaged pose existential threats to individual thought and democracy itself. The hearing before the Judiciary Subcommittee on Privacy, Technology, and the Law featured a bipartisan approach to the issue from the new chairman, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, and ranking member GOP Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska. All right. Algorithms can be useful, the senators agreed, but they also amplify harmful content and may, wait for it, need to be regulated.
Oh, my senator is involved in this.
Yeah.
Weird how I am paranoid about these things.
Is allowing all of these entities that support this to provide streaming stuff going on the internet. Now, the internet, you know, let's go back. Internet started with the concept of local to local connections across the country. You could go for Alaska, but you only had to go through local connections get there. The industry wisely provided for streaming for, in effect, a new kind of long distance, and that's what we've got. We've got a service that's immune to distance, and it's there for the consumer. But when we take and really indicate that anyone that wants to use this system for massive commercial purposes, but there's one company now you can sign up and you get a movie delivered to your house. My subscription service, my delivery service, okay? And currently it comes to your house. You put it in the mailbox when you get home, and then monthly you change your order. You pay for that, right? This service is not going to go through the internet. And what you do is you just go to the place on the internet and you order your movie, and guess what? You can order 10 of it, and it's delivered to you, and this delivery charge is free, right? 10 movies streaming across the internet. And what happens to
across that internet?
I just the other day got internet was sent by my staff at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I got it yesterday. Why? Because it got tangled up with all of these things that are going on the internet commercially. And here we have this one situation where enormous entities want to use the internet for their purpose to save money for doing what they're doing.
My staff sent me an internet.
They use FedEx. They use the delivery services. They use the mail. They deliver in other ways, but they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled. And if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line. It's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material.
I feel so sneaky listening to it like this, according to was that one of our Empty, one of our commenters there. Yeah, because now that he's dead, it's a little creepy. But this is like an icon of the internet age, because this was the guy who was the senior government official in charge of the regulation of the internet. It was the Senate committee. So this is the remix. So this got 4.25 million views, like right away. And this was, oh, it could have gotten a lot more. It's a really good visual video too. A series of tubes, tangled up tubes.
Think and get their heads around these really quite hard to see and think about.
And there's another video. Why was that playing in the background? Thanks, YouTube. Tangled up tubes. So these are the people going, oh, there's an internet? Let's see if we can regulate it. All right, that's enough of that. Back to the news. So what's happening in the Senate? Government relations and content policy executives from Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter described for the senators how their algorithms help them identify and remove content in violation of their terms of use, including hateful or harassing speech and disinformation. And they said their algorithms have been downranking or suppressing borderline content. Monica Bickert, Facebook's VP for content policy, said it would be self-defeating for social media companies to direct users toward extreme content. But Tristan Harris, a former industry executive who became a data ethicist and now runs the Center for Humane Technology, told the committee that no matter what steps the companies took, their core business would still depend on steering users into individual rabbit holes of reality. As Harris said, quote, it's almost like having the heads of Exxon, BP, and Shell here and asking, about what you're doing to responsibly stop climate change. Their business model is to create a society that's addicted, outraged, polarized, performative, and disinformed. While they can try to skim the major harm off the top and do what they can, and we want to celebrate that, we really do, it's just that they are fundamentally trapped in something they cannot change. No, they absolutely can change this. That's the thing. And this is where, I mean, we haven't talked about this for a while, so I'm kind of like, wait, where is it? Where is the blockchain-based social media universe we knew was possible a decade ago? Like literally, I mean, we were talking about diaspora, remember, as a Facebook alternative back in 2013. That was 8 years ago.
But think about how slow humans move. Da Vinci thought about helicopters, and how long did it take for humans to
All right, that? Fair enough. Maybe that's the kind of, well, it's a lot faster now. Everything's exponential.
I just don't have floating sneakers.
So, Joan Donovan, research director, Harvard Kennedy School's Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics, and Public Policy, giving her a very long title, said the platform should be required to offer users a public interest version of their newsfeed or timelines and provide robust tools to moderate content. As she said, we didn't build airports overnight, but tech companies are flying the planes with nowhere to land. The cost of doing nothing is short of democracy's end. The cost of doing nothing is nothing short of democracy's end. Coons and Sass, the Senate leaders, GOP and Dem of the committee, commended the platforms for efforts to suppress harmful content and increase transparency, but questioned whether they would do enough if left to their own devices. Coons noted that Facebook recently took special measures to limit misinformation and violent content ahead of the verdict of the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted in the May 2020 murder of George Floyd, a black man. Coons asked Bickert, my question for you is, why wouldn't Facebook always limit the rapid spread of content likely to violate your standards? And then he said, wait, you mean the files are in the computer? Okay, Zoolander reference. Sorry. Okay, boomer. But yeah, this is something that I think they're chasing like an old model of being able to regulate industry that doesn't really apply in the age of the internet. It's interesting to see them try, but if government got not net neutrality, that doesn't address this. Oh, and net neutrality. Yes, and net neutrality, and let the market actually be brought to bear in terms of internet speeds and access. But this is bigger than that. Even with or without net neutrality, as long as people have basic access to the internet, the manipulation by social media companies, because they have the monopoly power that they do, or sort of oligopoly, first to market corporatocracy privilege that they do, they are impeding the progress towards a more open social media system that would be open source, in which case you would set your own standards for censorship and manipulation through the algorithm. It wouldn't be determined by the company. All right, so one more quick story before we get to our guest. Let's see, I guess I should catch up on Telegram messages here. Oh, our guest is ready. All right, so let's go straight to our guest then. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today on Adam versus the Man, Magnus Panvidya, representing the Boogaloo movement. I don't think you would disagree that this is fundamentally open source, so the term leader must be loosely applied, but no one would dispute his role. Magnus Panvidya is also working to unify liberty activists, whether they call themselves anarchists, ANCAP, ANCOM, voluntarist, or libertarian. And as he would say, he envisions the Boog Boys as the anarchist army. Isn't that an oxymoron? I thought you could have an anarchist militia, but can you really have an anarchist army? Ladies and gentlemen, Magnus Panvidya.
Hey,
welcome to the show, sir.
Nice to talk to you, Adam. I'm a super long fan. I'll keep the fangirling to a minimum, but literally, like you're part of the reason I became a libertarian. It was actually the video of you in DC before you got arrested. I was like, wait, what is this guy doing? What is he talking about? This is interesting, and that put me on this whole fucking path of becoming labeled a domestic terrorist by the
yes. Well, I'll take that as plenty of flattery for inspiring your activism. That's the best kind of feedback. I really appreciate that. So aside from my ideological influence, I think you're trying to blame me. You're trying to ensnare me. I could be
what's his name with Emma Goldman when he got arrested, and he was like, Emma Goldman radicalized me, and Emma Goldman's like
yeah, no, when you get dragged off in handcuffs, you can just chant my name maniacally, and then I'll join you in the cell. Probably we'll be a note passing distance of each other.
Yeah, we'll pass the toothpaste and the Kool-Aid powder so we can paint on the walls.
Oh, all right. So aside from that, Magnus, tell us about your background, maybe personally, politically. What led you to this awareness and this form of activism?
Yeah, so I've kind of always been a activist like my whole life. I was really involved with the environmental movement when I was really young, like 10, 11. I'd be running around being that annoying hippie telling you to pick up your garbage and stuff like that. And was actually like in my like early teen years was actually like a Marxist Leninist, so like far left kind of guy.
You kind of look like it with the beard in the background, like in the hat. I got to admit, altogether, yeah. It's like, are we reviving the Leninist Marxist terrorist look? Like, are you sponsored by? I mean, you're the Boogaloo. Yeah.
According to Alex Jones, before I blew his mind, that I was a Soros CIA plant to destroy the Second Amendment was the conspiracy theory.
Oh, wow.
But I went from.
Get to the style. You should be wearing a Hawaiian shirt if you're going to represent the.
It's cold. It's cold. This is the
you wear the Hawaiian shirt over your hoodie, under your flak jacket, and learn the fucking uniform.
Come on,
if you're going to rep the movement.
Anarchists don't conform to uniforms.
Anarchists don't wear uniforms.
Anarchists don't conform to uniforms.
Exactly. So see, you're a smart person in the background there. But yeah,
Mercy. Hi.
I went from that, and then I got really disillusioned with leftism when Obama got elected, because all of these like eco-terrorist people that I was running around with and everything, I was like, hey, Obama's bombing in Libya. Aren't we mad about this? And they were like, not really. And they kind of, they're playing partisan politics. And that's when I started stumbling into people like you, like Ron Paul, like all the, like the libertarian dissonant wing. And I'm like, hey, there's like revolutionaries that don't care what political party you're associated with. And that kind of
Magnus, if I just pause you for just a second, because you gave me a really fun trip down memory lane here, because I interviewed a number of activists from my time in the anti-war movement. For those that don't know, I was extremely active full-time with the Rock Veterans Against the War when they were most relevant. We were most relevant. I should claim collectivism when it's appropriate, right?
Exactly. Our movement, comrade.
Yeah, right. But there was at the time it was as one of the few hardcore committed activist anti-war libertarians among an anti-war activist movement dominated by lefties. When Obama got elected and they all disappeared, we were kind of left out in the cold. It was like, what the fuck? And I interviewed a number of them. There were a number of people who were there for the right reasons, but they were the minority, who weren't necessarily libertarians. There were a lot of the Code Pink women activists and men with Code Pink were hardcore, and they were like, yeah, they fell for it for a while, but then they were like, no, still bad when Obama kills brown people. Just because his skin color is a little closer doesn't make it okay. And a lot of Green Party types. There were a lot of Green Party types who were in the anti-war movement for the right reasons. Some I interviewed on the show who were similarly dismayed that the anti-war left was an ideologically partisan movement more than a true anti-war movement.
It's okay when we do it types.
Yeah, and if you came out of it, it's really encouraging to hear that you were a product of that dynamic. And I hope there are more waiting in the wings, perhaps going through a slower, longer process to get to where you're at.
Yeah, that's definitely like the whole, like the two foundational basics of the Unity Coalition when we started it. Was the first one was, if any kind of collapse happened, we were like going to like these anarcho-communists and like these BLM protesters and stuff and being like, hey, we don't have to like each other, but let's not shoot at each other, if shit goes sideways. That was the first of it. But then the other thing was to kind of revitalize like the anti-war movement more than anything else. Like that's a huge thing for me. When I run around and people ask me like, why are you getting Black Panthers and like 3%ers and the Boogaloo people all like march together, as I have this dream of like, Alex Jones and Jimmy Dore walking down Washington DC hand in hand being like, fuck your wars. Like that's what I'm trying to bridge that gap there. And the fact that like, it's made me so happy because I've been, despite being a far right domestic terrorist, according to the media, I've been embraced by a lot of people on kind of that dissonant left, that Green Party kind of left. Mm-hmm. And this time they did not fall for Biden's bullshit. Like blue MAGA is real, but there's a lot more people that are like, hey, you're trying to ban menthol cigarettes right now. Like what's going on?
Blue MAGA. No, that's a great term for it.
Yeah. Because they act the exact same way. It was funny when it came to the border and the kids in cages stuff. There was an account that I used to argue with that would get real pissed about what the Trump supporters would say about it. And then they started using the exact same arguments defending Biden's border thing. And I was like, so then Fiorella from Convo Couch, like a left-wing podcast, I heard her call them Blue MAGA. And I was like, that's perfect. It's so true.
Yeah. Well, about that, how many of them, I mean, this is where, like, I hate to say looking at credible figures is worthwhile, because the masses in the age of the internet are reduced to data. The commenters, if you don't have a name and a channel with numbers or something like that, social media presence, if you don't have video of your face, established reputation, you can be, you fade into the background of noise because you can be impersonated by bots, by plants, by troll farms and things like that. So I have to imagine that a lot of these comments are just that. But if you look to the sort of prominent public figure thought leaders, and I'm not saying like you got to be on TV to be relevant, but at least like if Adam Kokesh says it, you know that that's a real person who's been talking on the internet for a while, right? You know,
it's not some 21 follower bot or something like that. Which I mean, after 2016 with the whole Share Blue stuff, like you can't trust that anybody on the internet's a real person unless you can see their face. Because they got busted running bot farms and stuff like that for politicians. So
this might be the evolution of the internet into decentralized social media blockchain with your own kind of identity verification formulas, but it also might be into private spaces where it's like and this is kind of what Facebook has been trying to do, except that Facebook is full of bots, and it's like, well. But at least you can kind of look at someone. If it was Facebook with real, anyway, I don't want to sidebar ranting on that too much, but I do. I mean, because I want to get more into, what is your motivation for Boogaloo? Like, what does it mean to you? What is the movement? What does it mean to be a leader? Because I know you don't try to say that you have any titles or authority, right?
It's a spook. But leadership's a spook. Don't believe
it. Leadership is an illusion. Leadership is like birds. It's not real. It's just a government drone. But yeah, please speak to those bigger questions.
Yeah, so I personally got involved kind of around when it became more of a real thing with Duncan Lemp in Maryland, in Virginia. Yeah. When he was killed in a no-knock raid, and he was part of kind of the 2A community, which I'd always been part of because I love guns. And we kind of saw the conservative, like revolutionary types, like take it from my cold dead hands types. They didn't really do anything about it. They didn't say anything about it, and they didn't really organize for him at all. And it's like, this is like your home run. This is a blue state. A man was killed in a red flag warrant, no knock raid over firearms. Like, this is your come and take it moment. Right. And none of them stepped up. So that's why, like, within the 2A community, the more libertarian, the more anarchist, and even some of the more lefty type people were like, well, we need to make our own thing. Like, we need to be our own thing. We can't just keep trying to push these conservative militias into being what they say.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can just summarize this narrative, because this is really different from. This suggests a totally different narrative from what the mainstream wants you to believe of what is the Boogaloo Boys, is like a right-wing group of squirrely trolls that do stupid shit with guns, right? But it's really more like an honest breakaway from the mainstream partisan right 2A community or gun rights movement to say, no, it can't be. It's the same thing as the anti-war versus partisanship bullshit. Like, no, we're the ones who mean it when we say we believe in gun rights. We're the ones who believe it when we say we should stand up for victims of the state on this issue. Yeah. And that suggests it's sort of like the centrist leftist gun rights movement. Is that, I mean, is that like, I know that's simplifying, but can you really say that that's more accurate than that mainstream? Well, it's kind of a center-right thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it may be a little more accurate, but it's definitely like the entire bottom of the political compass. Like, there's people in the Boogaloo that are anarcho-communists, and there's people that are ANCAPs, and there's people that are like, small government libertarians. There's people that are like eco-socialists, and like, it's the whole thing.
Okay, but you didn't say alt-righters, because the mainstream media is trying to push you into it make you a phenomena of the alt-right.
Yeah, which it's never been the case. In particular, like when you look at the alt-right, like the actual alt-right, and then even conservatives, all of them have police worship, like every single one of them, to where the earliest Boogaloo memes are like anti-cop in general, like we're anti-authority. Yeah. We know who's going to come and take the guns. It's not going to be the politicians.
So, to being a leader, how do you apply that for yourself in your role? Like,
you're
what
making,
I mean,
you're making my skin crawl, Adam. Stop it.
No, there's nothing wrong with abstracting the concept of leadership and separating it from the concept of false authority. So to say, like, you a thought leader or an organizer, or you lead organizational efforts or certain events, or I mean, you do a podcast. I mean, you do a podcast as you know, a boogaloo activist that makes you a thought leader. You know, how does that relate to the concept of leadership in the movement? And I guess maybe stop and define the movement, and what is the mission and purpose of the movement. I suppose you would also answer that question with the caveat, this is my answer to that question.
Yes, exactly. This is my answer to the question. It's the movement in general is just broad anti-authority on every single cause. So if there is an instance where we believe that the government is stepping over the line, we're there, which is what confuses the hell out of people, because there was a week where I went to an anti-lockdown protest and I was around a bunch of conservatives. And then I went to a pro 2A event, which was, you know, a mix of kind of everybody that likes guns. And then I went to a BLM protest for a man that was killed in Lansing, Michigan jail, all in the same week. And that confuses the hell out of people, where like they don't see the common thread between all of that is just the government stepping over the line.
So this is that huge appeal of the Boogaloo movement, and you call it the anarchist army, right? And I mean, I have issues with the A word because
okay, so militia's fine too. Militia's, I only use anarchist army because agrarian anarchy like uses that, but militia, armed collective of village idiots, you know, pick your term.
No, but libertarian militia might be a more technically appropriate term, right? Because libertarian is not only a broader, more inclusive term, but also militia versus army is more appropriate organizationally. But in that sense, what you've got is not only transcends ideology, but it's taken on a distinct culture. And that in and of itself, I mean, speak to that. If you I mean, you do look like the Russian-sponsored terrorists in the cave right now, which is not the typical styling of the Boogaloo movement. But it grew up with so the appeal of what you said. So I want to go back to what you said about the appeal of this, with like it boggles people's minds, and it's sort of like this is libertarianism in action, in the sense that we can say to people, we want you to have gun rights and we want you to have drug rights. And they go, but that's a left thing and that's a right thing. Oh, it does not compute. And you go, yeah, well, because they're both in. Do you not see the connection? You have a right. It's a violation of your rights. Can you not see? And then, did I just say Nazi? I need to keep it. I just saying be careful.
Canceled.
Yeah,
Canceled.
Hey, and frankly, I don't care. But your look here with the how does, I don't know how deliberate that is. But can you speak to what that reveals and why that manifests as ARs, flak jackets, and Hawaiian shirts?
Definitely, like, and I know you'll understand this more than most people will, but it definitely comes out of kind of the same spirit Anonymous did, of like a lot of the like Anonymous movement and like all of that came out of there. It was deliberately absurd. It was weird. It was confusing. It was kind of stupid and ridiculous. But it also had like an edge of seriousness and kind of like a threat to the establishment. And that's the same thing with the Boogaloo, like the Hawaiian shirts and the goofy memes and everything like that. People are like, oh, that's dumb. It's like, yeah, that's the point. Like people wouldn't be talking about me if I was just some dude in multicam in a flak jacket with an AR standing on the street. But because I gave a speech with a pride flag and a Hawaiian shirt with a guy that was dressed up as a Soviet officer and another guy that was dressed up as like a colonial militiaman, that people talked about us. And that's kind of the point of it. Like the absurdity and the ridiculousness of kind of the whole culture is part of that. And it's deliberate, it's intentional. And obviously it also helps us stand out because the media has really screwed up in trying to represent us. And you'll see if you ever look at any negative article, they'll show like Proud Boys or just like generic militia dudes. And they'll be like Boogaloo Boys. And then very recently, people have kind of caught on to that. They're like, wait, nobody in that picture is wearing a Hawaiian shirt. What's going on here? Because they'll try to lump us in with all these groups. And it's really hard to do so now that we're like we're so obnoxious and loud, you know.
Well, there's one other element. I wish you would mention this and tell me if this speaks, because I really should say we when I talk about the Boogaloo movement, because in my own way I'm a part of it.
So you and Spike and everybody that like there's big figures part of this.
I also I also own a business named after the movement. My geodesic dome business is called Big Igloo. Big Igloo Geodesics. And we make big igloos. So like, I'm definitely like, part of it in my own way in that sense. And I don't own any Hawaiian shirts. I'm more like a really colorful plaid kind of guy. But I need.
You're criticizing me for my cold weather hoodie. You don't even own a Hawaiian shirt.
No, because I'm the black and white. That's my theme. I'm like black and white. No, but what I appreciate about the Hawaiian shirts, and like this is true. Like, so you want to see what I wear every day? Like I wear. Like if I'm going out, really colorful plaid shirts and these goofy shades. Like this is, and oh, not only that, I took. By the way,
you totally look like someone I would ask in Miami if you had some cocaine on you. 100%.
I do. How much do you need? To me, there's, and I don't do this in my styling like on the show. Obviously, it's a little different, but the idea of the Hawaiian shirt being flowery and colorful and celebratory and joyous and vibrant and all those things that you associate and relaxing and what's a Hawaiian shirt for? Going to fucking Hawaii. What do you do? Right. Lay at the beach and take some. You relax. Like it's like there's that you celebrate, you party, you drink, right? And that's part of the ethos, I think, of the Boogaloo Boys, of being anti-authority, and it's a really beautiful way of capturing this duality of, fuck the man, let's have a confrontation so that we can have peace. And it's not even let's have a confrontation anymore. We're armed, but we're here to relax.
Yeah, you're crashing our party. We're not crashing your party.
Yes. So
I mean, you put it a little differently, but that's kind of what I mean about like the ridiculousness, because like it's really hard, no matter how much the media's tried, to look at a dude in a Hawaiian shirt and be like, he's scary. Like, because you're relaxing, you're happy, you're like if you look at pictures of us, we're never mean mugging or anything. Like,
yeah, right.
My favorite one is Medium magazine did a article on me where they put me in the top 10 most dangerous people on the internet in 2020. And the headline photo, it's Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump, some other guy, probably some like Wall Street banker or whatever. And then above them, it's me and my 3 friends in Michigan. And I'm sitting there with like this big, stupid smile on my face and like my Hawaiian shirt. It's like top 10 most dangerous people in America.
Nice. Hold on. See, Jim, pull that up. Let's see.
Medium magazine. Yeah, it's so funny looking. And you're exactly right. Like it's relaxing. It's funny. And there's actually a little bit of historical like lore that I found out about this that I wasn't aware of. I'm sure you're super familiar with the Athens, Tennessee siege. You don't know about when the US GIs, they got into a gunfight with the local police over a rigged election in Athens, Tennessee.
Yep.
You don't know about? Okay.
How do I not know this story?
Oh my God.
Googling.
Yeah. So essentially, like the local government was super corrupt, and the police were in on it, and they were like beating people up and like stealing ballots and just rigging elections there. And the GIs had just come back from World War II, and they'd seen what these guys were doing to their community while the men were all away fighting the war. Yep. So like they're like, this is bullshit. We're not going to put up with this. So they actually stormed the police station where they were keeping the ballots, like got into like gunfights with the police, ended up blowing up half the courthouse with dynamite, and then the police surrendered. And they got all the ballots, and it proved that they had won the election in a landslide.
I remember how we celebrated this every year on the anniversary in my government-run school. They love teaching kids about this event all the time. That's why every week we told stories about it and sang songs to praise the heroes. This is a commonly known part of American history. Yeah, no, Battle of Athens, Wikipedia page, 1946, probably a hugely. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm verifying this. For those of you who want to hear this, like from Wikipedia, black and white, not just Magnus's off-the-cuff retelling. He's right on. The Battle of Athens, sometimes called the McKinn County War, was a rebellion led by citizens in Athens and Etowah, Tennessee, U.S. against the local government in August 1946. The citizens, including some World War II vets, accused the local officials of predatory policing, police brutality, political corruption, and voter intimidation. And at the end of the battle was vote counting. By 3:30 a.m., the men holding the jail had been dynamited into submission. And by early, we're going to do a special. We're going to do like a whole special on this.
I'm so happy I get to tell you about this, because this is like I said, there's lore to this though, because one of the men essentially before they went and got into a fight with the police, they raided the National Guard armory. And these GIs were just like partying or whatever, and they saw what was going on, and they're like, fuck this. So they go to the National Guard armory, and infamously, one of the men there, I forget his name, was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and he grabbed two 1911s and went and got into a fight with the local police. And that's like, there's like deep kind of mimetic themes like going through history of this.
There's a story.
Well, man, I hate to be sort of the turd in the punch bowl here with the pessimism, but I gotta say, like, it's a fragile symbol in the sense that it would be pretty easy to send an infiltrator in. It's an open source movement with a distinct look. You know, if you want to destroy a movement or render it ineffective, you know, just try to control it or smear it. And are you I mean, it's sort of like they did with anonymous activism and, you know, so many other movements that have come and gone that have had the potential to be as successful as the Black Panthers were, perhaps, as a movement.
But even that happened to Black Panthers as well, you know. They got the same thing.
But I'm saying at this point, how much better are they at suppression and subversion that movements might come and go quickly? So as exciting as this is, conceptually, that this be the banner of the libertarian militia, the Boogaloo Boys wearing Hawaiian shirts. Are you concerned about the fragility of this concept in the movement, that, you know, government sends one guy in a Hawaiian shirt to commit some heinous crime, and now if you're a Hawaiian shirt, you're associated with this guy who's this creepy child molester who shot somebody while wearing a Hawaiian shirt, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they've already tried to do that with like pinning like the Whitmer case, like the kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer case on us, of trying to do all this crazy stuff, to where it's just kind of something you have to deal with. I feel like most people are way more suspicious of that now, and there'll always be normies you can't get through because they just believe every fucking thing the government tells them, you know? But at the end of the day, like I was part of Anonymous. I got, you know, my Guy Fawkes mask is right over there.
Yeah, me too.
And when that went down, then I moved on to the next movement, and eventually the Hawaiian shirt's going to be destroyed. I mean, it pretty much already was before I went on Jimmy Dore. Like, they had us like pinned down and crushed and destroyed for the most part until
it's really hard to destroy the whole. I mean, the thing is, all these assholes who would do such a thing, they love their Hawaiian shirts too. Like, like, do you really want to ruin the symbol of the Hawaii?
Trader Joe's was talking about changing their uniform because of us, because Trader Joe's has Hawaiian shirts. They were legitimately talking about, like, we don't want to be associated with the Boogaloo movement, so we're going to change our uniform. So
I don't know. See, you've motivated me. I might just trade all my plaids in for Hawaiian shirts now.
No, see, the plaid is the winter uniform, and then the Hawaiian is the summer uniform. That's the Boogaloo clothes.
So it is written. So it is written. As per the fatwa of Magnus Panvidya.
In Book of Boogalations, paragraph 556.
Yeah, so there's a great parody element to this as well. Oh, here it is.
Look at my fucking face back there. It's so funny. You can zoom in on me. I got the biggest stupid smile. Like, I'm
no, the guys with you too are all just like happy to be there. But that's how they're using you, right? Or that's how and I'll say you as
that's the most flattering thing I've ever had in my life. They literally put me on the same level as Mark Zuckerberg and Donald Trump. Like, I'm just some idiot.
No, you're his pawns behind him, or you're the puppet master. It's hard to tell, right?
Yes.
But I think that image is trying to suggest that these three, you know, in front, pull the strings for getting the crazy guys with guns to show up. That's what makes them dangerous. But
I do love too if like
story.
Just as an artist, if you look at that picture really quick, you'll see how they put all the time in the world into like cutting out Donald Trump, and then each person they increasingly got lazier about it. They got more and more boxy.
I did notice that. I was like, why is Trump's hair perfectly photoshopped, and then the other guys have like the straight shades around? Like, yeah,
they're pixelated.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, so are you resigned to like, well, this lasts as long as it lasts as a mechanism, as a rallying cry for? It's a beautiful rallying cry. It's a righteous one. It's a cool subculture. As long as this lasts, we're going to use this. But that if at some point the government successfully demonizes the word boogaloo, that it might just go away.
Yeah, I mean, the ideas is what matters. The symbols, the imagery, the uniform, or everything that just represents the ideas. So, like, if they ruin the symbols, then we're going to take those ideas and we're going to make new symbols. And that's already kind of happened with the Boogaloo of like, that's where the igloo comes from, because they ruined Boogaloo. So we were Big Igloo, and then we were Big Luau, and then we were CNN, and then we were the second annual Burlington Coat Factory summer sale. Like, we'll continue to find new ways to express this idea. And if we can come up with new memes before they can demonize them, period. We'll always be 10 steps ahead of them.
So that suggests that there is at least hope for continuity in this, as a rallying cry, a banner of activism.
Yeah, because I think you see it like carrying over of, like you said, the real ones of like the actual people that were Occupy, that weren't just grifters. They moved on into Anonymous, and then the actual people in Anonymous moved on to the anti-war movement, and then the anti-war movement moved on. Like, so like you lose all the fake people when the movement dies, but a bunch of real people carry over into the next movement, and then the next movement. It keeps growing and growing to where, like, if you told me that an anti-government, anti-police, like non-conservative militia would have 30,000 followers on Facebook a couple years ago, like, I'd be like, no, what do you mean? Like every militia is like a bunch of old fat white guys in the South with like Confederate flags that vote blue, back the blue type people. Like, I would have never believed you, but that's already there, that's already happening. So we'll keep building in momentum the more the government keeps fucking up, and the government's never going to stop fucking up. So
we are the resistance. A resistance by any other name would shoot us straight. No. A resistance by any other name would look as flowery. No. A resistance by any other name would still a resistance by any other name still spells death to tyrants. All right, Magnus, any final thoughts? Anything you want to promote? I know you got a podcast, YouTube channel. Anybody else you want to plug, or final thoughts today?
Yeah, I just all I have left, because I've been banned off of literally fucking everything. I'm not allowed to have a Facebook, PayPal, Uber Eats, Cash App. I'm not allowed to have any of that stuff. But I have Twitter, which is at Magnus Panvidya, and then I have a YouTube channel that's also just Magnus Panvidya. Actually, just before this, I interviewed an original Black Panther who united with the Ku Klux Klan to shut down Las Vegas over like it was like an anti-war kind of thing, because they were cutting off everybody's welfare checks during the Vietnam War in Las Vegas. So this Black Panther like walked up to the Ku Klux Klan and was like, hey, we're all fucking broke and they stole all of our money and they're fighting these stupid wars. Like, I don't care if you hate me. Let's march together. And they shut down all of Las Vegas. So it's like,
wow.
If the Black Panthers and the Ku Klux Klan can like unite, then like some like college hippie socialist and a libertarian can shut up for 10 minutes and stop the war. Like we could just put aside all these little fucking petty things and solve these big problems. So that's kind of, that just got done. You can watch that. That's up there now. So
there had to be weed involved. I'm gonna say there had to be.
Yeah, her name's Reverend Annie Chambers. She's super awesome.
I appreciate your work under the Boogaloo banner, and sir, in service of the movement. I would like to offer you our movement's highest commendation, the Boogaloo salute.
No, the true Boogaloo salute is the middle finger.
No, you
know with the middle finger.
There you go. The crotch salute. Do we have to like Frank Zappa? We have to get "fuck you" tattooed. That is the proper salute. That's the real Boog salute.
You get an igloo tattooed on the side of your middle finger. Yep.
All right. Well, no, I've really appreciated what you have done in this strain of activism. I'm honored to be part of your inspiration for it. And I think, aside from like, what I've done in the past, supporting people showing up as armed peacekeepers at events, I don't get to play with guns anymore. So I'll never be a Boog soldier. At least I'm kind of aged out of it. But I've also felony status out of it. So who knows what my role is going to be other than I've got this cool business. And if any of the Boogaloo boys want big igloos to actually hide out in, we can make that happen. So anyway, thank you very much, Magnus. Really appreciate your time today and everything you do for the movement, sir.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on, and we'll have to talk again soon.
All right. So we got a few more serious headlines, but let's check in with our comment contest. Did I miss any stripper names?
No.
Back to the stripper names. I didn't even miss any. No,
you didn't. No, it blew up in the beginning, and everybody kind of forgot. But I like. Who wrote this?
Well, I still like Josie Biden.
I like Josie Biden, but 90 Proof Nancy came up.
90 Proof Nancy. How about Rona Cyrus?
Rona Cyrus. Like Miley Cyrus?
Yeah. That's a good little mashup there.
Isn't your stripper name supposed to be like the name of your first pet and the street you grew up on, though?
What if your first pet was a boy?
Well, but I don't know. Do you give your pets human names?
Yeah, but then, well, strippers have boys' names all the time, right?
Anyway, if that be the case, I am Sneaky Forest, which is kind of cool. I think that.
Sneaky Forest?
Sneaky Forest. Like, we've got half hour-ish left, and if nobody's feeling inspired, just drop your pet and your first pet and the name of the street you grew up on, and we'll see which one mesh is.
Mine would have been Truffles Verbally. That would work for
Truffles.
Hey, Truffles. Yeah.
Sounds like somebody's learning.
All right. Couple serious stories before we get to our discussion pieces today. WashingtonTimes.com. John Kerry pressed to resign after Iranian claims on Israeli data. How did this just pop up? John Kerry's backroom conversations with foreign officials have sparked a fierce backlash in Washington again, as the former Secretary of State and President Biden's point man on climate issues faced growing calls to resign Tuesday over reports that he fed Iran sensitive information about Israeli military strikes. With a history of seemingly using private discussions with world leaders in and out of office for political purposes, Mr. Kerry's latest firestorm threatens to overshadow White House hopes of resuming diplomatic overtures to Tehran. The controversy centers on Mr. Kerry's relationship with Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif. Mr. Zarif claimed in a recent leaked audio tape that Mr. Kerry revealed previously unknown details about Israel's covert bombing campaign against Iran-backed militias in Syria. The State Department rejected that characterization. Mr. Kerry denied that he ever made such disclosures. He called the accusations unequivocally false. Interesting to see. There's a lot of power players, sort of dynamics in terms of the Israel-Iran Biden administration relations. Funny how though the pressure to resign on Mr. Kerry. This is Arizona Republican Representative Andy Biggs, probably not a real player in this as much as a pawn. If Mr. Kerry provided this is the quote from Representative Biggs, if Mr. Kerry provided sensitive information to Iran about Israel's activity in Syria, he undermined a friend and bolstered an enemy at best. Such behavior would be despicable. At worst, it would verge on treason. Not necessarily. There's so many other excuses they could make here. But if this is Kerry going down, it's like, is he being sacrificed as well? I kind of doubt it, but that Andy Biggs would be how it might happen. There are other Republicans, though, lining up behind this because Kerry is an easy punching bag. Remember, and I'm not a fan because he was in Vietnam Veterans Against the War. I'm a fan of that and them and what he did. But Kerry then went full Democrat establishment. And so, now Senator John Cornyn, Texas Republican, says, I think he's a dangerous person. And that he was revealing secret information. But shouldn't the Secretary of State be allowed to decide to a certain degree what's classified and what isn't, and what they were like? They get to, he crossed the line, he didn't like what he did. Is this more political back and forth, or is there meat to this? We'll see how it plays out. Similarly, with a tweet from Ted Cruz today, starting today, I no longer accept money from any corporate PAC. I urge my GOP colleagues to do the same. For too long, Republicans have allowed the left and their big business allies to attack our values and ship jobs overseas with no response. No more. Now, there are a couple ways to look at this, right? You go, oh, Ted Cruz, you used to accept money from corporate PACs. Now you're not. It's like saying, hey, everybody, no more murdering babies for this cowboy. I promise from now on, I'm one of the good guys. And I encourage all the other baby killers I hang out with to adopt the same policy and stop killing babies. This bad thing that we used to do, we're not going to do it anymore. Okay? No more baby killing. Let's be friends. Let's not even talk about it. Yeah. I urge my baby killing colleagues to do the same. For far too long, us, good people have allowed, these people who want us to kill babies to attack our anti-baby killing values with no response. But I'm putting an end to it. I'm no longer a part of the baby killer coalition. Really? Okay, so there's that. but I don't want to say don't change, right, to politicians. Like, I don't want to there is something fundamentally beautiful about this. So as much as I'm like making fun of it in this bigger scale where it's like, yeah, you were a fucking senator, you should have known better by then. Like, whoops, I got drunk one weekend and became a U.S. senator, but I learned my lesson. No, can't really give you the same leeway on that kind of thing. But it's like, are you flip-flopping to go for one flip to a better policy? No. So I really do think this is a good thing, and I want to encourage, more politicians, more Republicans to sort of, cleanse themselves of dishonest money. But so here's the good side to this story, right? And it's not good for Cruz, because Cruz is still one of the psychopath, power-hungry assholes. And you go, well, why is he doing this? He's probably thinking, well, they don't really give me that much money anyway. If I do this, or it's like say Ted Cruz's money is like 50-50 corporate big money PAC type things, right? And 50% is other, sort of, not, I don't say grassroots because a lot of it's still corporate, but sort of individualized at least donations. And he goes, well, you know what? If I throw the PACs under the bus, my other donations will go up enough, maybe not double, maybe I won't get as much money. But if I do this and make a big deal out of it, I can use it to suppress the competition for taking this money. Public opinion has turned enough. He's got the research. He's looking at polls. This isn't like an offhand decision for Ted Cruz. He's making a very calculated it's strategery. So those Texan Republicans do it. The Texas Republicans from Connecticut, they do it with strategery. So that's W. I don't know where Ted Cruz was born. Canada? Isn't he Canadian? Was that it? No. His dad was Canadian?
I think so.
Ted Cruz?
Canada.
Ted Cruz has some Canada connection, just like me. But George W., the cowboy, was born in Connecticut. So either way, as much as I want to be cynical about this, it's still, a good sign of the times. It's sort of like Trump wasn't good just as a destabilizing force, right? The populism that he reflected was a reflection of a change in sentiment. That populism, what used to be populism, was xenophobic and pro-war, right? The Trump character, the macho strongman dictator, got that way by playing on xenophobia and pro-war sentiment, as in, we're going to attack the others. When Trump was running, it had to be the opposite. Well, it was xenophobic. It was America first, but at least it was anti-war, and it was cooperate with the rest of the world. Not, hey, we hate the rest of the world. We're going to bomb them. America is the best. We're the chosen people, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's an undercurrent of that. But even today, it's not therefore bomb everybody. It's therefore bring the troops home. Don't be involved in these stupid forever wars. That was part of Trump's message. So similarly, I look at Ted Cruz going, no more corporate PAC money. Like, okay, I'm glad you did the math on that one. It's looking good. Yeah, go team people. CNNbusiness.com. Our next headline, scary police state update. A false facial recognition match sent this innocent black man to jail. Because, computers are racist. I once heard an AI robot say, oh yeah, all black people look the same to me. In February 2019, Niger Parks walked into the Woodbridge Police Department to clear his name. Parks, a 31-year-old black man living in Paterson, New Jersey, had received a frantic phone call from his grandmother telling him that police from Woodbridge, a town 30 miles away, had come looking for him at the apartment they shared. This was all a misunderstanding, he had thought. Parks had trouble with the law in the past, but that was behind him. Since being released from prison on drug-related charges, he had changed his life and was now working a steady job as a carpenter, standing at the desk of the police station, holding an envelope with a social security card and ID. Parks was ready to clear his name. It wouldn't be so easy. 4 or 5 minutes later, as me and the clerk were talking, 2 other officers walk up and tell me to put my hands behind my back. He's like, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. The charges were serious. Aggravated assault, unlawful possession of weapons, using a fake ID, possession of marijuana, shoplifting, leaving the scene of a crime, resisting arrest. On top of that, Parks was accused of nearly hitting a police officer with a car. Detained by the Woodbridge police, Parks said he spent 11 days in jail. Only upon his release was he able to learn what the evidence against him was.
Wow.
Yeah. According to a police report obtained by CNN, the evidence presented by the police officers that led to Parks' arrest was a high-profile comparison from a facial recognition scan of a photo from what was determined to be a fake ID left at the crime scene that witnesses connected to the suspect. I mean, that's so tenuous. It's not even. We had high-resolution security photo. It matches your face right now in a police station. That would almost sort of like, no, he dropped an ID. It looks,
and it's like a convenience store. It had to be that guy because nobody else walked through this.
But here's the thing: the facial recognition match was enough for prosecutors and a judge to sign off on his arrest. And this, so what followed was a year-long legal nightmare for Parks, who faced years of prison, potential of additional time due to prior convictions. Of course, because he's black. Not because they commit more crimes, no, because of systemic racism, obviously. Yeah. And one of the things that someone pointed out here in the story, you can have people who are being sent to jail wrongly who never know that facial recognition played a role in their arrest. That's crazy.
That
like,
never
and now I don't, yeah, and I don't want to like fearmonger on the technology because that's not the problem. I mean, this is great. I mean, facial ID, and when it's used judiciously as a piece of evidence, not indiscriminately as an excuse to make arrests, it's great. Apply it.
The end all.
Absolutely.
Piece of
well, but it could be the key piece. It could be, hey, we identified you. But even then, the problem is in applying technology to serve justice in policing or criminal situations, you have to have the enforcement agencies responsible for the consequences of their actions, and they are nowhere fucking close. And I know bootlickers will say, but Adam Chauvin went to jail, but Adam, these families got compensated, but Adam, it's like, no, I did 10 days in jail, not convicted. Where's my money? If the departments were forced to pay for every inconvenience that they cause innocent people, I mean, think about it like this. I mean, if you're UPS, you're going around delivering packages, and you accidentally like kidnap someone in your truck and bring him to a warehouse, and you keep him in your truck and feed him for 10 days, like you're gonna have to pay for that when you get caught.
Yeah.
But not if you're a police station, not if you're a police department, not if you're a cop. Yeah, no, there's no liability for that. And that's how you get a free market for social security services, for everything that is under police services today, response to emergencies, accountability services, security services. But we have this weird thing where if you're government, you don't have to say you're sorry. You're not really accountable for your actions.
And there's no accountability for the cop boss either. Like when do they fire all these cops? But when do we go, okay, what's going on in the training end?
One way or another, institutional liability enforcement. It really doesn't matter, what the exact mechanisms are, but that people are held accountable for damages that they cause to other people. They're not just given a pass for that. And it could be insurance, and I think about this for the cops, right? Like, when I try to be compassionate to cops, thinking about if you're part of a security company and on the job you do something that you're liable for that causes damages, if it's a normal thing and it's a risk that you accept that's part of the job, are you really going to be individually liable? No, you're going to lose your job, and the company insurance program or plan is going to pay for it, and that's okay. Your liability is, you lost your job. Maybe in your contract, if you're directly negligent, right? Like if it's just company mistake, like if it's company security and they have drones and you're dealing with drunk people at a concert and you put a drone on someone and the drone causes them to have an asthmatic reaction and you don't get to them fast enough and they have to go to the hospital and suffer trauma and then they got an EpiPen and then they were fine. You did your job, and it's a sort of a risk with doing that, and company insurance should cover it. And the victim in this case of circumstance of the company being the one responsible for that security situation is fully compensated for physical trauma, damages, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't live in that world. So it's So next story, fun one, and for some reason the USA Today website isn't cooperating. Girl Scout cookies partners with wing drones to deliver cookies. I had to include this one before Friday because it's a follow-up to our story yesterday that there's a warehouse somewhere in Georgia with $3 million worth of Girl Scout cookies sitting around.
They were like, let's get some drones for it.
But yeah.
Modern problems require modern food.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a video on USA Today, so we're not going to watch it because we're getting up to time for our discussion articles. We've got 4 fun ones here. First, CNN, chicken coops for everyone. A rural chain is thriving as millions flee cities. And there was something right away that pissed me off about this story. I know this is like a dumb formatting thing, but because it's a video, the first picture is Bed Bath & Beyond. It's people in a city walking in front of a Bed Bath & Beyond storefront. And I'm like, that's a rural chain thriving as millennial. What? No. And then they're talking about Tractor Supply Company. And I love, we have a Tractor Supply in Flagstaff. We've got one in on the north side of Prescott. I think it might be Prescott Valley, but close to us, there are 2 Tractor Supplies, and I love them. So the story goes, if you're one of those millennials who moved to a rural or suburban area during the pandemic, it's practically a requirement that you pick up gardening tools at the very least, or maybe even some animal feed or a chicken coop. One of the beneficiaries of that, besides, of course, the chickens, is Tractor Supply Company, a chain popular in those areas, which says it's been seen significant sales growth over the past year. So Tractor Supply, based in Brentwood, Tennessee, 2,000 small format stores in 49 states. They don't actually sell tractors, but it's an emporium of pet food and animal feed, lawn and garden tools, home goods, fencing, truck beds, chicken coops, and recreational clothing.
Recreational clothing?
Only to CNN would it not be work gear. It's recreational clothing. Is that like their retail term for it? Yeah.
And
that's true.
That's where I get
for me, I don't mind them calling. I mean, I kind of take pride in my work clothes being work clothes and my work boots being work boots, but it's all toys to me.
City slickers like to dress the part when they go out on the farm, Adam.
So for CNN, it's recreational clothing.
CNN is to city slickers.
It aims to be a destination for higher income hobbyist farmers. I never thought of it as particularly higher income.
Higher income hobbies.
But it's higher income hobbies, farmers, do-it-yourselfers, and everyone else living in what it calls in securities filings the out here lifestyle outside of metro areas,
aka Adam Coca.
So I didn't want to talk too much about Tractor Supply because this sounds like a corporate commercial almost. It's not a huge store, blah 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 blah. But the trend to backyard chickens and is that being accelerated by COVID. That's kind of a cool thing to celebrate.
As an expert libertarian person who's in the battle with her own city for backyard chickens, that was exuberant. That the COVID made a lot of people understand how food insecure they are, especially when it comes to the food supply chain in grocery stores, because everybody rushed and bum-rushed toilet paper. So now people are looking into more self-sustainability at home, because that's what the last few generations have been geared more towards.
Are there enough people really thinking, so they ran out of toilet paper? What if they start running out of food?
They did run out of food.
Yeah, when we were in Lexington. Well, even recently, when we were in Kentucky, and the fast food joints were on like super limited menus.
The distribution cycles messed up. There was a potato shortage last year. Like, you have to look at agricultural communities to gauge the health of your country. Because if you're out in BFE and your cities are struggling, that means your food production suppliers are probably struggling too, which means that our food supply chain is going to break down if we don't watch it. But if you're not aware of that, like chickens make you aware of, when the city says you can't produce your own eggs, you're not allowed to. You have to go to the store.
Start running into those walls, yeah.
And then you are understanding, fuck, I need a goddamn garden.
Yeah. I guess there are enough people thinking that way now.
Apartment living. Look at how many people live in apartments.
All right, before we get to the really juicy stories and the comment contest for best stripper name, we have total change in gears from France24.com. Major shift in journalism. Journalists create their brands in growing direct sales model. And you could say that's kind of like what we've been doing in independent libertarian media and in the podcast genre in general. Is that but now it's journalists going to become freelance journalists. Like, this is in terms of like what I've always done with my media business is like, hey, I get on the air and I ran every day and this is my worldview, and you can I don't really consider myself a journalist in the sense that a lot of people use that term, but I take it as a journalistic responsibility, if you're listening to me every day, to be clued in and give you a fair sense of what's going on in the world around you. But now there's a shift towards the individual and subscriber-based model. So Joey and Mercedes obviously don't even care about this story.
Oh, sorry, we're picking stripper name contest.
We're
doing behind-the-scenes business right now with Nora.
All right, well then there's more interesting stories we can get into here. And next up we have from the WBTV News 13 Arkansas. Arkansas mother of 5 says she was fired for refusing to get COVID-19 vaccine. A mother of 5 was terminated from her job after she said she was uncomfortable getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, I want to reiterate something I came up with yesterday on the show as like a way to avoid getting the vaccine if you're being pressured into it. All you have to say is that you've had adverse reactions to vaccines in the past. They might make you talk to a doctor, and you might have to say, I don't want to talk about it. When I was a kid, I had a bad response to a vaccine. I don't want to take this one. For the sake of the company, I'll hygiene up whatever I got to do to isolate myself, make people feel comfortable. Or if everybody else gets the vaccine, you don't have to be afraid of me. But I don't want to get it because I had this adverse reaction as a kid to a vaccine that's way worse than COVID. So obviously, where else this might be very important? In jail. If you're in jail and they say you can't go to general population, you might be in medical isolation. But I would much rather be in non-punitive solitary medical isolation than have to get a COVID jab right now. But Samantha Weiss was fired March 3rd, 2021 from Harvest Cannabis Dispensary in Conway, Arkansas. Yeah. As she said, they actually did it. They really fired me. I didn't think it was really going to happen. I knew most everybody's name that came in there. I liked making people's day. That's my main thing in life, is to just make people smile. While selling cannabis is a good way to do that.
Indeed.
Weiss said the dispensary made the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for all employees. However, she said she had concerns about getting the shot. She said, I am always that 1 out of every 10 or so that has a bad reaction. I am that one, so I'd rather just not. I don't have a good reaction with a lot of medicine. My body, my choice, right? But now you can't work here. And the thing is, I would say if I was in Conway, Arkansas, I would boycott. I would actually. This is something that I think.
Where's Arkansas normal on this one? I'm calling them out right now. Like and this is an industry that is trying to overcome like the stronghold of the pharmaceutical industry, is giving into it.
Yes.
Just like Joints for Jabs was. Like I can't understand this.
It should be easy to demonize and boycott a single dispensary if they're really and part of this is a product of the corporatization of cannabis, in that who has permits, who's actually designing the policy for cannabis dispensaries. Even within that, it's state regulatory agencies and people who are rich enough and friendly enough with the regulators to get the permits. And I know because I went through this in New Mexico. So my dad tried to get one. And so it was my dad's story. No, but my dad tried to get one, wasn't connected enough.
That is what Jane was getting ready to bring up about Harvest in particular. I don't want to start blowing whistles and drag us down another hole, but go ahead and Google Harvest in terms of
Harvest Cannabis Dispensary.
Cannabis dispensaries and different suits and corporate corruption type things. Some big stuff happened in Maryland, and they're just the medical market. So
they're proving why we need to be.
When you told me it was Harvest, my little cannabis centered mind go, oh, that makes sense. Fuck them. Business as usual for them. And unfortunately, these are the guys that are going to get ahead in this cannabis industry.
Well, it's funny. It's one of the first things that comes up in Yelp is 10 best cannabis dispensaries in Conway, Arkansas. I was like, there are 10 cannabis dispensaries in Conway, Arkansas.
That's incredible. That's great news. That's great news.
Right, yeah.
The more you know.
You're in the top 10. No, but what are the other problems? I mean, if you're gonna throw shade like that, back it up, because I'm Googling it and it's all like good stuff on the first page. But what if I put cannabis controversy?
Yeah. Gonna take me.
Or go to the bad reviews. Wins trademark. Oh, so they had a trademark dispensary or trademark controversy. Dispute. Judge tells get new name. Judge tells Little Rock pot dispensary. Harvest Cannabis. Like you really want to own Harvest Cannabis. That's being name owners. That's kind of shady, using government for that. For using government to force other. So Cannabis Dispensary says rival reaping its Harvest name. So they forced them with government to change their name. We got the woman fired was one of the first things that comes up here. I don't know if that's enough to condemn. I mean, the COVID thing is enough to condemn the owners and say, I'll take my business elsewhere. But I should say in general, as awesome as it has been, and maybe if you're new somewhere or if you're in an area that's new to cannabis, and Arizona is kind of like new recreational, kind of on the cusp of this. But I'm starting to feel like in Arizona, as a conscious consumer of cannabis, my money is better spent outside dispensaries, in the gray market or the black. Well, it's all. It's in
we call it the free market.
The tax-free market. Well, specifically right now, it's the tax-free market. Yeah. It's because the taxes are so exorbitant, and they go back to government to do bad things. Like, so if you go and buy weed at a dispensary. I mean, you guys went to the dispensary yesterday in Flagstaff, right?
Yeah, I looked at the taxes.
It's like 25% of what you spend is taxes, right?
I need to do the math, and we can talk about that tomorrow when we have Peanut on. Yeah,
well, we'll have a big Friday show. We actually have like a really huge Friday show for tomorrow. Is it Jay's day? I hope it's not, actually, because we have like a dozen in-studio guests who are going to be in it. We need to clean this up and bring chairs in here. It's going to get crazy, right?
So we could broadcast.
Yeah, but you're going to put the bed up tonight again. Anyway, we have futons in here.
You just leave the woman with work to the women, okay, Adam?
Okay.
Here's one of the lawsuits from Maricopa County, actually, against from former employees alleging a bunch of compliance violations, including false advertising claims saying that all their products were lab tested when they were in fact not.
Interesting. With Harvest?
With Harvest.
So Harvest is multi-state?
It's in Maryland. It's in Nevada. It is. That's kind of what I was getting at. They're one of those big guys. And
yeah. All right. Well, on that note, maybe we should all take some.
We should smoke some weed every day.
Smoke weed every day.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're killing my lungs, man. Why is this not a party yet?
Well, you guys got me multitasking. I'm scrolling through the comments looking for
you made Jim do the comments today.
I couldn't get my computer up.
And I just had a whole list of them, but then they went away.
I've heard that before. All right, so one last story. I don't know, maybe we should table this for tomorrow, but the thing about strippers in Texas, minimum age being raised from 18 to 21. Maybe this is a much bigger conversation. We don't have time for this one today. But the reason it's such a big one, and it's not even that simple for a libertarian to say, okay, yeah, it should be, well, let's have a law. Or like, hey, there shouldn't be a law because an 18-year-old has the right to strip. Well, a 16-year-old has a right to strip. A 14-year-old has a right to strip. A 12-year-old. Where do you stop? Where is it abusive? And where does the market draw that line? And if government is the framework, we should generally encourage government to approximate what the market would do. It's like with the setbacks here. I think there's a similar application of that principle to this dilemma, so to speak, around minimum age for strippers. Should it be 18 or 21? I don't really know, but Mercedes and Joe would be much better at explaining that. Maybe we'll come back to that next week. Monday's show, we'll cover this. It'll be a fun discussion. Until then, producer Jim, take us home with the promos while our in-studio co-hosts figure out the contest winner.
Okay, I popped a few up there. I don't know if they were watching. I found them again. So before I lose them again, I can really quickly go over the Corona Karen.
Karen! How about Karen Corona?
I like that one.
Karen Corona. Karen Corona. Karen Corona. Yes. But some combination of Karen and Corona. If that's Craig, but Craig would be defending the Producers Club with that today. Ginger Broad.
Ginger Broad was good. 90 proof Nancy.
Although we did say if you can make it have Corona in it. That was Elvis Wood.
I don't know what Elvis. I mean,
I get it. But no.
I get it.
So today's
some of these I don't kind of get. I don't know if they're.
These are people doing their first pet name and their street names.
Pet and street names.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's why there's some random ones.
I'm like, these are fucking horrible, man. You guys are on one today.
I think
what kind of stripper is this?
Corona Karen.
Busty Racks.
Busty
Racks.
One
I think is a stripper name. I don't think that's a pet name. I don't know.
I think that today's contest winner is Producer Club members already, and they get kept to keep exclusivity to the
All right, take us home, Jim. Do the promos for real this time.
Okay, all right, for reals. We'll do speedy promos. Join the conversation in the public channel, t.me/Adam versus the man. That's how you can get all the links, or like if you wanted to read more about the last article we didn't get to there, you can do that there, t.me/Adam versus the man. Everything else that you want to do, you can do from adamversustheman.com. You can click on the Patreon and support us there. Click on the $10 a month to make yourself a private Producers Club member, like the winner of our contest today. And once you're a member of that club, you can shop at adamversustheman.com, get 15% off and free shipping with everything that you order there. You can also go to Cigar Federation. There's a link for it at adamversustheman.com, and you can shop all you want there using the promo code Adam10. That's going to get you 10% off of everything you order. You should order the JSK CBD infused nugs because they're awesome and delicious. And after that, check out Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. That's where Adam's got everything posted in picture and video form of what's going on up there in Gardenia. There's sure to be a lot of pictures and videos posted, especially after this next weekend is over. So look forward to that. Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. Also, the crypto6.com. They need your help. You can use this page to learn about what's going on with the Bitcoin church that was raided, or you can just go here to scan these codes and donate cryptocurrency to help them out with legal fees, etc. And lastly, go to gogreenenergyonline.com to give yourself a micro wind power like Adam has. You can see one of these things that you see in your picture at gogreenenergyonline.com. You can see one of those being physically installed and raised up at Gardenia itself on the Instagram that we just mentioned. So do both of those things, click all the buttons, do all the things, and be awesome.
I want to challenge the Producers Club members, and maybe it's a homework assignment, because your comments are fire. And I feel like maybe you're not telling your friends about this chat thread because you don't want any competition. So bring some competition to the show with you next week, so we can get your friends in on the Producers Club too.
Sharing is caring.
And with that, the good news is tomorrow's show is going to be awesome. Peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.